Hey everybody, welcome to Mismatch Readers Club. I'm Eliza and we've got Hannah here as well. We're two friends here to talk books, overthink characters, and more often than not, go completely off topic. So this week we are actually diving into more topical discussion rather than just answering questions like we have for the last two episodes.
And for the last about 3 hours that we've been sitting here recording.
Truly, we have just sat and talked about the things we've read and what we liked and what we don't. But today we're actually going to talk about book trends that have changed and shifted over the 21st century. So we were both born in 1992. So when the 21st century kicked off, we were turning 8 years old. So I feel like we have grown up through a lot of the changes.
Yeah, definitely.
Versus being born later on, and like our childhood was the 2000s, childhood into teenage years.
Yeah.
And then we became young adults in the 2010s, which is where, we see all of these changes that have happened. So first off, we'll talk about the genres and how they've sort of shifted in the last 2 decades. And then we're going to move on to sort of other trends that have occurred within the book space. Growing up, we're probably going to talk about, when we're talking about 2000 stuff, probably things we read more in high school, because we want to keep it like mostly adult-ish focused. Obviously, we read YA stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, the time where I read the most was definitely like
High school.
Yeah, like teen years, like 13 to 18, I was
reading a lot.
Did the most.
And everyone remembers growing up in the 2000s, we had a massive blow up of things like urban fantasy. So book series like The Vampire Diaries. I don't remember what the series is called, but I know a book is called Hush Hush.
Yeah, I can't remember what the series was, but the book was called Hush Hush. And it was I feel like, and my memory might be hazy, but I feel like the first one of these was, and it's not even urban fantasy really, but it was like Twilight.
Yes.
And then these
Twilight's urban fantasy.
Like these ones sprung up around it, because I think Hush Hush was like maybe like Angels and Demons kind of vibe.
Yes,
I
haven't
almost
read
nothing about it.
I never read Hush Hush. I didn't really read The Vampire Diaries.
True Blood.
Yeah,
that
was very adult though.
Loved the True Blood books.
There was a very, very big focus on vampire books in the late 2000s.
Oh, yeah. We all had, I had Team Edward t-shirt. Horrific.
Truly horrific.
Horrific.
But another one that came up that we've both read is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. And her entire Shadowhunters universe.
I don't think I ever finished reading the Shadowhunters universe, but I read the first whole series.
The Mortal Instrument
ones. And then I read the ones set in
I think it's the Infernal Devices, like Clockwork Princess and stuff.
Yeah, the old-timey London ones. I read them, and then
I've only read those two as well. She has many other series that are part of this little universe, and I would like to read more of them because she's a very good writer.
She has milked that universe for everything that it possibly can. But I think also it was one of those things where it's like I started reading them. I think I was probably 16-ish when I started reading them, maybe 16 or 17. And I think I just aged out of them.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think we all did too. And then I think in the turn of the decade, so when we started to hit the 2010s, the dystopian novel really came into stride.
Oh, yeah.
So we had, The Hunger Games, you had Divergent, you had The Maze Runner, all of those kinds of books where it's very apocalyptic, end of the world sort of thing. They were all very popular. I read a lot of those.
Yeah, did you read all of those?
I read all 3 of those series that I just named.
I
thoroughly enjoyed all of them too.
I don't love post-apocalyptic things. Even now, I don't love to watch a post-apocalyptic TV show or movie or anything like that, which I think I just don't enjoy that kind of content. Storytelling.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair.
I read The Hunger Games and I really liked The Hunger Games. I also have a nice edition of The Hunger Games. I've got the 3 where it's got the white covers and then it's got the I think it's blue, gold and red book. And it's the foiled pages. It's so visually it's really nice.
Only recently purchased the Hunger Games books. I think I read them when I borrowed them from libraries and stuff, or I borrowed them from a friend or whatever. But they actually came out with special editions of the Hunger Games and then A Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which is one of the prequel books.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen.
Not that I've read A Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which is President Snow's story. I don't know why they did it.
I don't care.
I will read it, but I bought those. Mostly because, they were beautiful. They're all very similar. They've got a nice coloured floral edge and stuff. What did bother me about that, though, is they came out shortly before Sunrise on the Reaping came out. And then they did...
weird timing.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But what they didn't do is then release a version of Sunrise on the Reaping that matched those covers.
Oh, that would
And
piss
I'm
me off.
so mad about
Do
it.
you know what pisses me off? This, just talking about like minor tangent here. We've already said we're going to go off topic. Don't be surprised. When book series are coming out and the book sizes don't match.
Or they change the format of the spine.
Or they change the format of the spine. The most egregious one that I can think of, which I remember Dale and I having like a mind meld moment when we were talking about how irritating this was. But when I was a wee one and reading Aragon, the first 3 books, really small. The final one, Inheritance, was like a big, full-sized book. And I was like, it doesn't match. Also, the Game of Thrones editions, but it's because there's so many different Game of Thrones ones. But I remember not buying one of the Game of Thrones books because at that time I couldn't find it with the cover that matched all of my other ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want them to be out of...
I think that's a general problem in publishing because here in Australia, when new release books are brought out, they are brought out in the large style paperback.
Yeah, they are.
And then after a period of time, they get transitioned into the mass market paperback, which is smaller.
And
so
like
if you are trying
ones.
to... I don't care either way about the size of it. But what shits me is if you are starting a series that has maybe been out for a couple of years, you might get the first few books in the smaller paperback. And then if you're caught up, like it's still an ongoing series, you then either have to buy the bigger paperback and then have them not match, or you have to wait for the mass market paperback to come out, which can be 6 months later.
Or also, I guess it's like...
It bothers me to no end.
Also, I guess ones where it's like I have some book series, not that I read a lot of series, where it's like I've got half of them in paperback and half of them in hardcover because it was what was available at the time of reading them.
I have. The Mortal Instruments actually is one where I have some paperback, some hardcover, and some of them and differing sizes.
I think I have them all in, because I read them as library books, but I think when I bought them as a set. So mine match.
I will rebuy them so they all match.
Yeah, I support doing that 100%. I think also like with Lord of the Rings, Justin and I have had a couple different box sets, but then it was like some got damaged, we lost one. So like we have Lord of the Rings, but not in fully cohesive sets.
Yeah.
And I would like to buy a set that matches. It's the same as like when I started reading The Wheel of Time, I was like, I'm just going to buy all of the books. No, I'm not, because it's going to cost so much fucking money. Good God, I've got goldfish to support. So
and
a catfish, the demon catfish. So I just have not audio ones, ebook versions of that. But that's like if it's a series that I can manage to commit to, I want to buy like 14 matching ones.
Absolutely,
because I would be annoyed. Also, like the Raven Cycle is one where they all match nicely, which I like that they all match.
I have a problem with when we talked about this series in our last episode, Tomorrow When the War Began series. I purchased all of those books in paperback. Would have been when I was a young adult, I think. Like I read them all in high school and then bought them as a young adult. And they're a very specific size of paperback.
Yes, I remember when I came to Queensland and you were looking for them.
And my prick of a dog, when he was a puppy, so I forgive him for it, chewed one up. And I have searched high and low on eBay, on bookseller sites, on Facebook Marketplace, on Gumtree for one that matches, and I have not found one because it's very specific dimensions.
Yep.
And it's a paperback, but it has like the dust jacket flaps.
Oh, yeah. I know the ones you're talking about.
They are so nice, but fuck me, I can't find it, and it gives me so much grief. I have the book that I'm missing, and the dimensions said it was the same, so I thought, excellent. I bought it, and it was wrong.
I would die.
I'm livid. And I did not. I paid a lot of money for that damn book too.
My mum is like this. She has the Agatha Christie books, and they're really nice. Like I really, really like these covers, and unfortunately, my younger brother has dibs them when Mum kicks it, so I'm not going to get them. Sorry, Mum, but
I tried.
The Agatha Christie ones they're all hardcover, and they've got white dust jackets with her name in red, and then the image relates to, it's like a very clean image on the front that like relates to it, and they just look so nice. They look so good on her bookshelf, and she's had them for like my entire life. I can never remember her not having them, but I think she said there's 2 or 3 where she has never been able to find them. So it was just like we are perpetually looking for these books, and I don't think they've ever been reprinted. Like Agatha Christie ones have been reprinted, but never in that particular type of cover.
Yeah,
I think.
they've been updated and modernized.
Yeah, so
which is sadly what happens too often.
I guess also the other thing is, we're really off topic here, but the Book Thief, the original cover, I don't think they print that one anymore,
Yeah.
the like parchment-y style one, and I really like that cover. So, but I've never been able to find it again.
Disappointing. But anywho, we went very off topic there.
Yeah, sorry.
How did we go that far off topic?
To be honest, I don't remember.
We were talking about the Hunger Games books.
That's right.
And then I went into a tangent about the latest book being different.
2010's hipster writing reading trends, which was Eliza's written John Green in capitals, and the rise of reading supremacy if you read the classics or poetry. I will say
that was very much a 2010s thing.
Truly. I will say I bought big into the John Green trend. I really liked the John Green books. Embarrassingly, I have The Fault in Our Stars tattoo. Maybe cut that. I'm not sure. We'll put a pin.
I'm leaving this in.
Pin it.
I am leaving it in.
And it's a really, really bad tattoo. I got it done at a studio that I knew was a little bit dodgy.
Anyway.
Okay, we're back after we've had a gossip. Anyway. So
John Green was probably one of, if not the most influential authors of the 2010s.
Yeah, I'm trying to
As far as especially with the rise of like that more lit ficky stuff.
I wouldn't even say it was more lit ficky, but I'm also thinking of that, like the particular like trope of the big one that I can think of around that time is like Manic Panic Pixie Girl kind of type of vibe.
Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Which was, there is that John Green book that it was like Looking for Alaska was the big one. And then there was the like Paper Towns. I think Paper Towns got made into a movie, but all of those kind of ones, I think, around that time.
Yeah, and Perks Being a Wallflower.
Perks Being a Wallflower, I think, is actually like a pretty good book. I didn't love the movie, but the book...
It's not a terrible job of a movie.
No, it's not a terrible job of a movie, but I think the book was like pretty unique for me at the time I read it for being told completely in letters.
Yeah. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl thing I definitely stemmed from, and this isn't even book related, but definitely stemmed from Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I didn't see Scott Pilgrim until I was like 23, I think. Like I
can't remember how old I was.
I just didn't watch it.
It's a weird movie. I'm not going to lie.
I distinctly remember it's like...
Ramona Flowers?
Yeah, I remember like its influence on pop culture.
Oh, absolutely.
But I remember watching it way past it was like huge. And I was like, I kind of don't get the point of this story, or I don't get the hype. Also, it was movies like Juno. I think a little bit was like...
I've never seen Juno.
You've never seen Juno?
I think I've watched bits of it, but I've never seen it in its entirety. I am, and this is possibly a hot take, I'm not the biggest Michael Cera fan.
I don't love Michael Cera, but I really liked Juno. I thought it was cute. It was like my favourite movie when I was like 17. So I really liked it. But I think that was definitely...
He just fell into this trap of playing this awkward teenage dude.
I think he is an awkward teenage dude.
Truly,
I think that's the kind of vibe.
He's never aged, though.
No,
he bit like what's his face, Thomas Brody Sangster. The man is as old as us, and he looks like he's 18.
Yeah, he has a really young looking face. He really, really does. I guess the other thing was the rise of reading supremacy if you read the classics and poetry. I feel like this was huge on Tumblr.
Big
this
time.
was like a Tumblr subculture thing of like, I only read the classics, I don't read.
I am better than you.
Yeah, it was that kind of vibe. There was definitely a lot of men I met like that when I was doing English courses at uni.
Yes, but they all read fucking Ray Bradbury.
They wrote, or the big one was Charles Bukowski. It was like, oh, I read him and, that makes me enlightened. And it was like, I don't think it does. I think you're just a dickhead. It just
makes you pretentious.
Yeah. And like, I read Charles Bukowski because I did an English degree.
Never read Charles Bukowski and I have no aspirations to.
Fine. Like, it's fine. I also, I did read a lot of classics and poetry at that time. Like, I was reading a lot of Virginia Woolf and stuff like that.
J.D. Salinger.
Time. Yeah, I read Catcher in the Rye. I think it's...
I hate Catcher in the Rye.
Fine. I think it's fine.
Holden Caulfield is a phony.
Yes. Actually, do you know what? I think I was probably 16 when I read Catcher in the Rye.
I definitely was.
Yeah,
I tried to be a cook in the late 2000s to read some classics, and I read Catcher in the Rye and was bored.
I think I read Catcher in the Rye. I read most of the Virginia Woolf books, which I really I love Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite writers. I think her stuff is incredible. I'm trying to think of other stuff I read at that time. Oh, I did The Bell Jar.
Why?
I don't know. Because
I can't get behind Sylvia Plath. I don't know why. Just something about her writing I just don't love.
Yeah, I don't love her writing, but I read that. It
feels just overly melancholic.
Well, I mean, she stuck her head in an oven, so yeah.
That is true. She did.
That's true.
And
also, actually, I just recently read a book by Olivia Lang. It was Olivia Lang's first book, and it was them tracking the river in, they did a walk of the river in England which culminated in like where Virginia Woolf killed herself. And
Virginia Woolf or Sylvia Plath?
Virginia Woolf.
Okay.
Because I was just thinking about how I read them when I was younger. And that was really interesting because Olivia Laing like covered the history of all of these areas on the river, but it was also talking a lot about Virginia Woolf's life, which was really interesting,
cool.
I thought.
No, that is interesting.
That was my first book of
I think,
2026.
I definitely think Tumblr played a big hand in people, like, this whole elitism in the reading space.
Yeah.
Which sadly has not gone away.
I don't think it's gone away either. I think it's a little bit. I think the reading elitism has moved from I'm reading the classics to this. I've read 100+ books this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, are you reading for enjoyment? Or are you reading because then you can say, and like, you know, you read books really fast and I've read books really fast, but it's like, are you reading?
Are you reading to pad your stats or are you reading because you enjoy it?
Or, yeah, and it's like, are you reading for, and this is why I think like, you know, a podcast is probably a good medium for me to talk about reading and books and stuff like that, because I think if it was like, I'm not reading for content, and I wonder sometimes with those people who have the like, oh, I've read 50 books this month. It's like, are you reading and can you absorb all of that, or are you just reading so that you can say that you've done it so you can do a YouTube tagline?
My mother actually used to question
really
how
rude.
fast I read books when I was younger.
Yeah, I can read books really fast.
Because I was reading and I think I finished a book and she was like, there's no way you read that fast. And I was like, my mother, I did. And she's like, can you tell me what happened? And I literally prattled off half the plot.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I forget small details, but I can give you a sense of the plot from start to finish.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. I was like, yes, mother, I am a fast reader. Leave me alone.
The year that I read, actually, it was probably like near when we met. Did we meet?
12-ish.
Yeah. Did we meet the year that I had my ankle surgery?
I think.
My reconstruction. Like my second ankle surgery, not my first one.
Who were you dating at the time?
Person who, I was the year I turned 21.
We knew each other then, 21 in 2013. I think we met at some point in 2013.
Yeah. That year, because I was home recovering from surgeries, I didn't work through that period and I wasn't at uni, I read like 220 books or something that year. Couldn't tell you much about the books that I read now because it was ages and ages ago. But, you know, like I read Game of Thrones in that entire year. I like went back and reread a lot of series I read when I was a teenager. So, yeah.
I think,
can read
there's
pretty
definitely,
fast.
I think you're right with the elitism transitioning more into like how much you read. There is still a little bit of a sense, at least as someone who is in like the book talk, I won't say Bookstagram because I'm not necessarily in that space, but they kind of overlap. There is a little bit of a sense of elitism of people that don't read fantasy and particular fantasy romance.
Yeah.
Judging.
I also will say that I have been guilty of that, of people who like exclusively are like, oh, I read, you know, rom-coms and I've read 400 books this year. Like, you know, I'm being facetious and really over-exaggerating. I have definitely been guilty of that before.
Oh, you're not reading anything. There's no substance.
There's no substance for you. But then, like, you know, I ate my words and I read a couple M. Hen books. I really liked them. I thought they were good books. But I can see why they're quick to read.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's very much, and it's quite a common, like a current argument of people being judgy over recommendations, like book talk and social media recommendations, and being like, they're all shit, they're all this, they're all that. And a few people have put it really well where they're saying, if you don't like the books that you're being recommended, no, but this is the thing, if you're not liking the books that are being recommended to you on social media, that is not social media's fault. That is your fault. Yeah. Because it is your algorithm.
Yeah, you're seeking it out or
like,
you're getting it.
What you're interacting with and what you're watching constantly are recommendations for these books. If you don't like it, find something else.
Well, yeah, like the books recommendations that I get on Instagram and stuff like that, or YouTube or whatever. Like I'm not on TikTok, so I don't get that. I get that kind of secondhand from you. But like I get mostly lit fic or mostly nonfiction or books about or like essay collections or, you know, art criticism or something like that, because people that I follow who are big readers read that subsection of books.
If you don't like what's being recommended, change your own fucking algorithm. And that's all I will say on that.
Tell them.
I also don't give a shit what you read. If you want to read 500 picture books a year, go for your life. You're reading.
We should read more grub.
Truly.
True. I'm actually pretty sure we have all of the grub books. But yeah, I think it just kind of, wow, we really did get a tangent off of that. But yeah, I think the supremacy has come through in like a different way. Like it used to be on classics and poetry, and now it's definitely more on like I read books that are more intellectual, or I
How
read
much
books of
can you
more
consume in a year?
yeah, it's very, like, I guess it's, like, nature of the beast, but I
Not
think it's
not every book you read needs to be this life-altering, brain-changing book.
I guess also it comes
Sometimes I like to read a book that just has nothing but fucking smut in it
you do
because
love a smart book.
it's fun.
You do like a smart book. But, like, I guess as well, it's, like, the whole thing into which is, like, a larger problem that I'm not even gonna bother getting into now, but it is the rise of everything having to be content. Everything has which, we're
We
guilty
actually
we're
will talk about
currently
this later when we
Yeah.
talk about authors.
we are currently doing that because we are contributing to the content about books, but, like, it's the whole thing of, like, I have to make I can't just enjoy a hobby. It has to be I have to monetize it and make it content and,
And here we are
do
doing
stuff from that,
exactly
and we're
that.
doing exactly that. So,
But yeah, I think from the early 2010s where you had a lot of that John Green, like people were trying to write in like a more classic style.
yeah, or people who were, like, writing books about people who only read classics, like, that's also a John Green thing. I'm also trying to think of
Looking
other
for Alaska, I think. She only read classics or something, didn't she?
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think of other authors around that time. Was it Rainbow Rowell, I think, was around
Oh
that
God, I
time
don't
as
remember.
well? So, yeah,
You're
those
asking a lot of my memory from 15 years ago.
I think, yeah, it's those kind of ones. Or it was, it was like depressed teenagers, which I guess I've moved on because now I just read books about like depressed 20-something women. So,
No longer depressed teenagers. We are depressed
depressed adults.
adults.
Yeah. So,
In the last, what would you say, 8 years? 8 to 10 years?
yeah.
The trend has shifted out of that into there's been obviously the most popular genre of books these days is fantasy romance or romantasy, say it
Mhm.
however you wish. That is probably the most popular book genre of late.
Yeah,
It is the one that garners the most social media presence, the most hype, etc., etc. And
I
this is just across the board.
Yeah, I will say I don't know a ton of what because I very much am in my like little niche area. Like I found the people that I like to listen to and like follow and stuff on
Yeah.
social media. So like I don't know a lot about like bigger book trends apart from like going into a bookstore and seeing what is
Yeah.
available and stuff like that. And it is absolutely dominated by romantasy and rom-coms and that kind of stuff.
And I guess to go back to what we talked about before, where there is this sort of judgment towards it, like why is it so popular? Like why all of a sudden is romance such a big thing? Why is all of a sudden smut or like spicy books a big thing? Have none of you read a Mills and Boon book
I was
or
about
a Harlequin novels book? This shit has been around forever. It's the shit your mum used to read, shit your auntie used to read, shit your grandma used to read.
Mm.
It's been around.
I also remember so distinctly when I was in, I think it was like second year uni and I was doing creative writing. And one of my teachers, who's been a long-term published author, we were doing like the course was like on editing and publishing and stuff like that. And she
Yeah.
had a lot of very interesting insight into the industry. And she said to us, I think it was 25 of us in the room. And she was like, of the 25 of you in here, none of you are going to be successful authors unless you publish a cookbook or a Mills and Boon.
Yeah.
And then she proceeded to tell us she was like, if you want to write the next great novel and you want to do lit fic or you want to do the next fantasy or anything like that, she was just like, and you want to make money from writing, write a Mills and Boon. Because they will put it up on, I think they put it up on their like website when they're taking stuff and you write to a formula. And at that point, it was like $3,000 to $5,000 per book. And she was like, just write to it and fund it because it's not your name or anything like that. But you can make money off of them. And Mills and Boon, how long have Mills and Boon been going?
Forever. Mills and Boon and Harlequin novels have been around for a bazillion years. And I mean, there is also, and this kind of ties into sort of Mills and Boon and Harlequin. Of late, the sort of dark / mafia romance novels are very, very popular. But
Mills and Boon have been publishing books for over 115 years.
There you go.
Having been founded in London in 1908 by Gerald Mills and Charles Boon.
There you go.
Initially they published various fiction and non-fiction, but released their first romance novel, Arrows from the Dark, in 1909, and they specialised in just romance from the 1930s.
There you go.
Onwards.
So nearly 100 years they've been publishing exclusively romance novels, and they are one of, if not the biggest publishing houses in the world.
Oh, Mills and Boon, it's an imprint of Harlequin novels.
Oh, there you go. So, and I mean, to go back to the sort of dark mafia romance sort of thing, like people are judging that.
Over 100 Mills and Boon books are published a month.
Holy shit.
What the fuck? That's so many books.
But so many of those have this like billionaire romance, mafia romance sort of vibe to them. Like,
Do you think, and like I might, because I don't really read romance, do you think like 50 Shades of Grey kicked this kind of stuff off in some way? Because like I remember 50
yeah,
Shades of Grey being such a big thing.
I think it definitely boomed, like, brought the hype back.
Yeah, because that's maybe not the kind of romance and stuff that's on the market now, but I feel like that was like, it was like,
It
I knew
definitely
people who had read Mills and Boone and who read like rom-coms and stuff like that, or like books on romance and everything like that. But I feel like 50 Shades of Grey, I've actually never read 50 Shades of
I
Grey.
have. I've read them all.
So I feel like 50 Shades of Grey was like the smut book that really like broke into
You are
popular
right.
culture.
I would actually agree with you there. I definitely think it was one of the books that broke the
Who
mold.
was in the 50 Shades movie?
Dakota Johnson and I can't remember his name.
I feel like it was,
Jamie something.
oh, was it Jamie Dornan?
Yes.
Yeah, I like him. He was in a really creepy
Honestly, I didn't hate the
series.
movie, and I actually quite enjoyed the books, given that they are a Twilight fan fiction to start off.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they were.
Fuck.
But, like, that definitely kicked off this whole billionaire romance, at least brought it to the forefront of popularity.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, in the last 10 years or so, I won't necessarily say lit fic has, like, emerged, but it's definitely gained more traction as its own genre, because prior to that, it was just kind of general fiction.
Yeah, I think it's always like has always been around, but I think it is more popularized now. But then also like with things like that, I wonder if it was like, it probably 10 years ago was incredibly popular, or 10 or 15 years ago it was incredibly popular, but like I was reading John Green and Twilight.
Yeah.
So I wasn't reading it now. But then it was like it's like, like so many people I know have read like the Sally Rooney books.
I don't
And those kind of
care
things.
about Sally Rooney, not gonna lie.
I will let that one slide, but only because
know.
we've been friends for so long. But I love Sally Rooney. She's like one of my favorite authors. But
I've never read a book, and I honestly don't.
they're so good.
But I'm not a
They're
lit fic
so-
reader, so
No. In saying that though, I didn't like her latest book, but
intermezzo.
Intermezzo. But that's fine. So yeah, I think it just is. It's very popular now. And it's not even. It might not even necessarily be lit fic, but it's the book about nothing. It's the all vibes book.
All vibes, no plot.
All vibes, no plot type of thing, or no like dedicated plot. Sorry to my friend who just texted me, but I am putting my phone on Do Not Disturb.
I don't think I've taken mine off.
So yeah, that all plot, no vibes type of thing, or even the rise of like, and I think it came from like Otessa Moshfegh's kind of My Year of Rest and Relaxation, like, mid-20s woman on the brink, which has definitely always existed, but I think it has, it's very popularized at the moment. So yeah, definitely that's right. Although when you said dark mafia romance, I have not heard anything about this. What does this mean?
Because they will be.
Like Sopranos smut, are we talking about?
Yeah, basically. Dark romance is usually like when it's contemporary romance, but like it has a much darker edge. Usually like the male main character is in a mafia, or he's maybe a serial killer, or he's like a stalker or something. Some of them are very well done.
Oh.
Yeah, it can be a bit intense. I've read a couple that
I'm not
are a little bit too much. It's not my favorite genre. I like a couple of things. I particularly like, there's a couple of authors, Bryn Weaver and Nevessa Allen. They do like dark-ish romance, but with a comedy tone.
Okay.
So Bryn Weaver has a trilogy, and she's just started her second trilogy. So the first trilogy is Ruinous Love. The first book, they are both serial killers. And they like...
Did you read this recently?
Yeah, it's called Butcher and Blackbird.
Yes, I remember you
It is so entertaining, right? Because it's twisted, but in a light-hearted way.
Yeah, I think if you're, author of dark romance, paranormal romance, and romantic fantasy books. Okay.
But yes.
Yes, I've definitely seen these.
Yeah,
books
you absolutely would have.
Yeah,
I read her most recent book, Tourist Season, last year, and the second book in that comes out, and I'm very excited. But she writes with quite a light-hearted tone. Same with Nevessa Allen, who wrote Lights Out.
Yeah, I think if you're going to write something like that, you probably need to do it with like a light touch. You don't want it to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would probably be entertaining enough to read. I don't think I'm going to read it, but like
No,
it sounded entertaining when you were telling me about it.
It is. It's so entertaining. I think they would make great movies, like black comedy movies.
Oh, yeah, probably.
So, but
what
anywho.
is that? I'm going to have to think. I'm going to have to call my mom and ask her, because when you said black comedy movie about like a serial killer, there was a movie that I really liked that my mom and I watched so many times when I was a teenager, and it had, I think it was Maggie Smith in it, and she was like an older serial killer, and I think Kirsten Scott Thomas was in it. I'm going to have to ask Kirsten Scott Thomas. I'm not sure. It was, and it had the guy who played Mr. Bean in it.
Not Blackadder.
What? No, it's not Blackadder. It's this is such a stupid tangent. Hold on. It was, what's his name? Mr. Bean actor. Why are we talking?
Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson. Okay, hang on. Let me.
My Old Lady.
No, it was. This is the dumbest.
Keeping Mum.
Keeping Mum. That was a good black comedy one because it was like very light touch about the fact that she was a serial killer. Deeply entertaining. I love British humour. So
You are correct. It is Rowan Atkinson, Maggie Smith, and Kristen Scott Thomas, and Patrick Swayze.
the mind at work. Anyway,
I'll have to cut half of that out, but we will actually.
that
leave
was a
most of that in.
pretty.
Yeah, I love a good black comedy.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that one. It was funny.
So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the way the book genres have shifted in popularity. But as far as actual trends, so like technology, print, etc.
Mm.
I think the biggest one probably of late has been the people transitioning into e-readers.
Yeah, but I think it's going, it goes back and forth. There's so many people are into e-readers, and I think e-readers, I have my Kobo and I think it's great. I didn't have one until a couple of years ago, and I think that they're so good. But now I also think it's people wanting to go back to having physical media as well.
Absolutely.
So that is coming back in a big way. But also I don't think coming back in a big way, I don't think physical books ever really left.
No, I think people jumped on the convenience of an e-reader.
Yeah.
But now,
and the convenience of audiobooks with things like, Audible or Libro FM and those kind of ones as well. Yeah. It was really convenient for people.
Also just the general accessibility of people being able to listen to an audiobook and still consume books. So,
yeah,
for people with disabilities that might not be able to sit and hold a book for a long period of time. And that kind of covers both audiobooks and e-readers, because an e-reader is so much easier to handle versus a heavy book and then having to turn the page. So if you've got mobility issues in your hands, it's obviously much easier to just hold a Kindle and tap the page to turn it.
That's why my mum wants one, because she's I would love to be reading in bed again like she used to, but she's I physically struggle to hold a heavy book now.
Exactly.
So she wants a Kobo for that reason.
Absolutely. Fair enough. And I think, people are transitioning back into wanting physical books, for, in some ways, wanting to have a little bit more of that, analog lifestyle, but also a lot of people like collecting trophy books, which leads into another point we've got here, which is people collecting special editions. And the rise in popularity of special edition books. This falls more into my wheelhouse with the romanticy,
yeah, because you have said a lot about well, not even a lot, but you've ordered or you were going to buy books that are special editions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I've rebought special. I think I rebought, and it would probably be a good 10 years ago now. I bought the 10-year anniversary edition of The Book Thief.
Yeah.
I think that was the last special edition book that I bought. I don't really, I guess because I don't read series or anything like that, I generally just buy, although I did buy, I had a lot of books that were Penguin books because I've talked about in the previous episode, they were cheap when I was at uni and I had to read a lot of them. Books that I did I did then buy nicer copies of them.
Yeah.
I like the Penguin ones, but Dracula has some really beautiful special editions. So I have a embossed leather copy of Dracula. So yeah, I've definitely done it and probably will.
There's definitely, I feel more of a market for it nowadays, to the point where there are whole companies that all they do is make special edition books.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah. One of my book subscription services is one of those exactly.
It's just special editions of
popular books. Yeah.
Wow. I don't really, although I guess it's not the same. I was going to say with trophy book wise, but often I will read a physical book. I'll read an ebook, and if I really like it, I might buy the physical copy of it. Sometimes it might be we were talking about hardcovers versus paperbacks, and I don't love a hardcover. There was a couple books where I really, really wanted to read them when they were released, but they were only released in Australia in hardback. So I bought the ebook, and then I waited until the paperback came out and bought the paperback.
But no, there's definitely a big trend with special editions. Even though I subscribe to a special edition box, I am very much on the fence about it because they're not cheap.
No, I can't imagine they would be.
My box is $65 and it's bi-monthly, so it's 6 books a year. So
okay.
It's not outrageous, given that if you were to go into a traditional bookstore like Dymocks or QBD here in Australia.
Is it just one book?
Yeah. But if you were to walk into Dymocks or QBD to buy a special edition, you would be paying $50 to $60 anyway. Whereas with these subscription services, yes, they may be a smidge more expensive. In my subscription box, which is called Books and Spice, if anyone's interested, they are limited run. So you can only get them if you're a member of the subscription, and they are limited places in the subscriptions. And they are completely unique, so they're not going to be like they're not traditional purchases. You couldn't walk into a Dimmicks and buy one.
Yeah.
You also get each month, like with every box, you get the book, you get a bookmark, you usually get a couple of art cards, and an
Okay.
enamel pin, which not that you guys can see it on this, but I have up on the
Okay, great. Because I was sitting there. I've been looking at those pins for the past
few hours.
5 hours while we've been recording, being like, I wonder what they're from.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
from those. So for $65, given what you would spend to go and buy a mass-produced special edition, $65 doesn't feel
It doesn't
that
seem
outrageous to
bi-monthly
me
either.
The only difference is you obviously don't get a say in the books you get. They do the same book for everybody. So it's not like if you're shopping special editions.
Yep.
You can skip. I think I can't remember how many skips they allow you per year. I think it's probably 2 or 3, even you're only getting 6 books. So if you don't like a book, you could skip it. I've never skipped one because I'm just happy to increase my book collection.
I think also maybe this probably comes into something that I've done before where it's like I might not like I might buy the import cover instead. So I might actually pay money for to get it imported because I might like the UK edition better, or I might like the American cover better or something.
Yeah, I did that.
So I've done that before. I did that with House of Leaves because it didn't House of Leaves, which also was so wanker of me. I bought that book yonks ago, and at that point it didn't have an Australian publisher.
Yeah.
So I had to order it from, I think I ended up ordering it from the UK. I paid a fucking obscene amount of money for it.
And also, I
bought it so many years ago that I bought it from Angus and Robertson.
Oh my God, they don't exist anymore.
I thought they existed online. But
no, I think they've been absorbed by Booktopia.
Oh, okay. Well, I bought it from there and I paid over $100 to get it,
God.
which is ridiculous.
It's a bit like Book Depository doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I used to buy all of my books from Book Depository.
I think they've been absorbed by Amazon.
Oh. Well, yeah, I would sometimes buy copies that I liked from, I would get the import copy or something like that because I liked the cover a lot more.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. I've bought imported copies, usually via Amazon because they're usually the fastest and generally most reliable place to get them. But I bought the US covers of the Belladonna trilogy because even though I actually quite like the Australian/UK covers, because often Australian and UK covers are the same.
Yeah, they are.
But I really enjoyed the series to the extent that I might even consider buying the UK covers.
Yeah.
Not necessarily special editions, but the American editions I bought were hardbacks. So I might buy the Australian covers in paperback just for the sake of having them because they are quite pretty. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing with the special edition thing, how popular it's gotten. And I mean, in the States and between the US and the UK, there are a number of special edition companies. Fairy Loot is one of the most popular ones.
I think I've heard of that one.
Those books can resell for like 4 times the price that people pay for the box.
What the fuck?
Because they're that, like, especially if they do a really popular book. So they did The Night and the Moth.
Okay.
And it is very, very nice. But I
like the cover of that.
I like the original cover. People are selling these Fairy Loot editions of this book for like $300 US.
But is it with something like that where it's like is it just like created scarcity?
Yes.
Like it just
because it's limited subscription. Like the wait list for Fairy Loot boxes is like a year long. You get onto a wait list and then you get offered a place. Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's wild.
I know.
Also, after all of that and paying so much money for it, I read House of Leaves and I didn't like it. And it's so big that I think I'm pretty sure I have flowers pressing in it because I needed a heavy book when I was like obsessed with pressing flowers. So it got
one
flowers.
Of your many crafting hobbies.
One of my many crafting hobbies. It just has like pressed flowers in it now.
That is hilarious. Where are we up to in these notes? We've done that. Fan fiction.
Oh, yes. Oh, I think we've jumped around because I was like, why are you saying
well, we talked about the ebook thing and then we jumped to audiobook and then we were talking about going back to print books. So that kind of led into special edition stuff. But fan fiction has obviously been around for some time.
Yeah, it's been around forever.
But it definitely started to blow up in probably the like mid to late 2000s, sort of along with the rise of like MySpace.
Well, yeah, because
Wattpad was the big one when we were in high school.
Yeah, Wattpad, definitely AO3.
AO3, I think. AO3 felt more like 2010s.
Yeah, and even like AO3, I feel like was kind of like when I was on Tumblr, everyone was like talking about AO3 and using AO3 and stuff
I never really read fan fiction, would you believe?
I never read fan fiction, which, yeah, I just never got into it. But I remember a lot of controversy around fan fiction. Specifically, I think I remember, and I might have this wrong, and if so, don't sue me. I think that there was a rumor going around that the Cassandra Clare books were fan fiction.
Oh.
Like, I think it was.
There was a rumor about that. There was a rumor that it was Ron and Ginny fan fiction.
Oh, I thought it was like whatever they called Hermione and Draco. Like, I thought that's
Hermione. No, it was Ron and Ginny. Which explains the sibling plot at the end of the book. Which ended up being false, by the way. And I'm sorry if that's a spoiler for you.
Those books came out like 15 years ago. Yeah, I think, and then there was lots of...
No, it was supposedly, Ron and Ginny fan fiction.
Interesting.
It was never confirmed. It was just a rumor, but it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
Because Clary is a redhead.
Also, isn't, I feel like a couple of years ago there was like Harry Styles fan fiction wasn't it made into a movie as well or something like that? There was like a Harry Styles or One Direction fan fiction
probably
that was like published and then made into a movie.
Yeah.
I might be hallucinating that, but I feel like that happened. There's definitely been,
I talked about it before. 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey was fan fiction.
And that was confirmed by E.L. James that it did start out as a Twilight fan fiction.
Obsessed with that. It's so fucking funny.
They get a lot of shit, but I genuinely don't think they're that badly written.
I've never read them, so I kind of can't comment. I feel like it was a funny, looking back now, it's like a funny cultural moment.
Absolutely. Everyone was very into the concept of bondage for a while there.
Yeah, but not done well.
Oh, no.
If I go by any of my previous
No, it's not. It is not done well.
So, yeah, I feel like I feel like there's always been around fan fiction of some kind.
The difference was it just started getting published on the internet.
Yeah, well, isn't that book that you Alchemized is based on fan fiction or something?
Alchemized was based on a fan fiction.
Yeah, and then even there's like, the rise of like books about F1 drivers.
Yeah.
Is all fan fiction based.
Hockey romance.
Is Heated Rivalry a fan fiction?
It is. Well, Heated Rivalry is a novel series. I have watched half the first episode. We should watch that.
I really want to watch it. I really want to watch it.
I've watched 20 minutes and like one thing happened and I was already sweating.
I'm absolutely entranced by those actors. Like, I haven't watched the show yet, but I'm watching all of their little Instagram reels. Like, it's just a delight. And also I'm
also here for more LGBT.
Yeah. I'm also here for the resurgence of All the Things She Said, because that was like one of my favorite songs when I was very young.
Cultural moment for us Australians in the 2000s.
Australians? I think it was just a cultural moment. Wasn't Tatu Russian?
Yeah, I think so. Ukrainian.
I don't know. Anyway.
Off topic. Again.
Very topic. Anyway, but also the fan fiction thing comes into the next thing that we have, which is indie and self-publishing, which is more accessible now.
Well and truly. As much as, you despise Amazon. I use Amazon too much to say I hate it. Yeah. Places like the Kindle Unlimited store and being able to self-publish through Kindle and even probably Kobo as well.
Yeah, I think you can self-publish.
Being able to self-publish in that regard is so much better for indie authors.
Yeah.
Because having something available on something like Amazon, which millions of people use, is because like indie bookstores, while they are popular, they are much harder to come by than traditional bookstores. And places,
especially in Australia, there's not. Yeah. Or maybe it's just like where we live in Australia, but like I don't think there's a lot of massive indie bookstores in
there aren't.
South Australia.
And places like QBD and Dimmicks don't usually take indie published authors, indie published book, unless they have gained very, very high notoriety online.
The Dimmicks in the City has a very, very small section on indie published books. Or actually, it might not even be indie published. I think it's like locally published.
Yeah.
Like Adelaide presses. So they've got a small amount there.
Talking about authors, though, that kind of leads beautifully into our next point, and some authors wanting to stay anonymous and stuff, and how authors have had to transition through the phase of the book space from being able to be somewhat anonymous to authors now needing to be a content creator.
Yeah, which I think, we talked about a little bit, but like that's just the whole thing of like everything having to be content, which is like, I'm thinking, like, back when I was a teenager, like, hate to be, like, back in my day, but, like, I don't remember reading a ton of interviews or seeing anything from my favorite authors around that time.
No.
And it was, like, it was, like, a big thing if there was.
The book hype was just the book hype. It didn't have to be.
And I guess it started, like, well, not it started, but, like, I first became conscious of it, I think, when it was, like, John Green on Twitter.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, like, when, that big rise and stuff like that. But, yeah, it's, like, you have to be.
I don't have an issue with authors becoming a bit more present with their works.
Yeah.
Like, I do think it's fun. I do think it creates a level of personability with the author. I do think it can lead to some very weird parasocial relationships.
And I think it can lead to some like weird over familiarity type of
like
stuff.
But at the same time, you know, I think if you're going to be an author nowadays, you need to understand that, like, unless you are absolutely committed to like writing under a pen name to stay anonymous, you have to be essentially a content creator as well as an author.
Yeah, which
you
is
need to be
just
present, because that's what publishers expect nowadays too.
Yeah.
Is you need to have a presence.
Which is just like wild to me. Like, I cannot imagine having to like be like, okay, well, I've written a book, which is a huge undertaking and a massive commitment and a massive thing to achieve.
Now
and
I
then
have
it's
to
like,
sit here and film
now it's
14
like,
silly little TikToks. I say as a
get
TikTok
on
creator.
and do 14 TikTok dances, please. And then maybe we'll
Thankfully, the
maybe
TikTok
we'll
dance
sell-
thing has mostly died.
Great, thank God. But, you know, maybe we'll sell 10 copies of your books and stuff like that. Or, yeah, it's a bit odd. I definitely wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I say that because like authors often attend conventions, and I mean that's always been kind of commonplace. Like people attending things like here in Adelaide Writers Week or doing book signings, that has always been part of it. But it feels like more of an expectation of authors now versus it being a bonus for the readers to be able to attend a signing.
Yeah. It's definitely not as
like if you're an author now and you're not doing a, if you're in the States, a 20 city book tour around the release of your book where you're going into bookstores all over the country and doing signings and sitting and maybe reading a couple of chapters from a book or talking about things or doing interviews with, podcasts left, right and center, please come and join us on our podcast.
Any
Authors will take you. But having to
within reason.
You have to do all of these things on top of writing the book.
I think book tours have always been kind of common and something that's done especially for like bigger authors.
Oh yeah.
But now the fact that you have to do like you're expected to do that and also do like, the whole range like promotional to it to the extent that you've never had to do it before is wild. It seems so exhausting.
It's expected now.
That's
what
so
sucks.
Exhausting.
So I feel for you, all your authors. We love you. Please come and join us on this podcast.
So for structure-wise, we will probably do something like what we've just done where we have spoken about, we pick a theme where we talk about something. So we've got a few lined up. And then we're also going to do monthly challenge. So we will roll the spinny wheel.
We have a wheel of, and I'm very proud of this one, the wheel of plot luck.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It's terrible and I love it. And I will not apologize.
We will also do we've talked about the books that we've read because we've just recorded a whole bunch of question stuff. But the other thing that we'll do is like a reading check-in where we talk about like what we've just finished, what we're currently reading, and that will kind of be the standard parts.
Yeah.
But that we're just trying to have a loose format because otherwise it will literally just be us talking shit for several hours. Right, let's spin the wheel of plot luck. I actually do like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's funny.
I
am funny.
I'm happy for you. All right.
So this is going to be like a monthly challenge for us. This is kind of a way for us to do our own little book club in a way. If any of you feel like, however many few of you there are, if any of you would also like to join in on whatever this reading challenge is, please feel free.
If any of our 2 listeners would like to join in.
I've got my eyes on you, ladies. All right, anyway, let's spin this wheel. I don't know what I want first. Oh! Okay, that's honestly a good one.
That's a pretty good one to start
with. So our first one to start off is a genre switch. So that means that for the month of March, I will be reading a litfic book of my choosing.
Yes, yeah. I'm not going to pick for Eliza and Eliza's not going to pick for me, but
you will be reading a fantasy.
I will read a fantasy or romantasy?
Yeah, either or.
Yeah, one of them.
Take your pick. You're not allowed to read The Wheel of Time though because you're already reading that. That doesn't count.
Also, that's going to take me forever to read. That is going to take me forever. I don't know. You've been talking about Stacey McEwen a lot. Maybe I'll read a Stacey McEwen book.
Yeah, do it.
So, yes, in March, we will genre switch.
Yeah, so we also have, I won't list all of them off, but we do have another one in here, which is a book swap, which is where we will pick a book for each other to read. That's why for the genre switch, we get to pick our own.
I think that's a good way to do it. It's probably better than I think it's better doing the genre switch first before we pick a book for each other.
Yeah. So in the next episode, we'll actually update you on which books we've picked. And then in the episode after that, so in 4 weeks, we will update you on how the challenge went.
Yes, we will.
Because that's going to be the easiest way to do it, I think. Because I can't tell you what I want to read litfic-wise straight off the bat.
No, I can't tell you what I want to read fantasy-wise right now. So we'll
update you in 2 weeks. So,
Yes.
Anyway,
Stay tuned.
that's all we have for today. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.
Bye.